Hello, welcome. So, today we're going to learn a breathing exercise. This isn't just any breathing exercise. I use this breathing exercise for so many things. I can't even tell you how many things that I use this breathing exercise for. One of the main reasons that I will actually prescribe people this breathing exercise is if you've had major abdominal surgery, including a caesarian, to help begin to rehab stomach muscles. It's particularly great for any kind of postnatal journey, not just a cesarean, because gets the belly core moving with the pelvic floor. And I probably shouldn't have said that because the core actually is the pelvic floor. We think of our core as our belly muscles, but our core consists of our belly muscles, our diaphragm, our back muscles, and our pelvic floor. Think of your core like a cylinder. Everything needs to move together. The diaphragm goes down, the belly goes out, the pelvic floor goes down, pelvic floor goes up, the belly comes up, and the diaphragm lifts. If you're pregnant, this is a really good one for you to practice. It really helps to coordinate the belly. We tend to lose coordination of the belly when we're pregnant because there's a baby in the way. You'll find that this is really difficult if you're pregnant, but well worth learning whilst you're pregnant so that you have it in your toolbox or bag for after pregnancy. You don't have to be pregnant or postnatal to do this. Anybody who's lost connection with how their pelvic floor and their belly works, sometimes post-menopausal women, the lack of estrogen in the body can make things softer, and so we get a lot of prolapses. Anybody with a prolapse, any kind of digestive condition, if your diaphragm and your ribs are not working, like I said, there are so many reasons that I would give you this exercise to do. And basically, it comes down to coordination. So, having said that, this breath is actually surprisingly difficult to learn, surprisingly difficult. It comes in 3 parts, and today we're going to learn all 3 parts of this breath. You might find that to start off with, especially if you've lost coordination of your breath and your core, you might find that you need to start with the first bit, really get that in your body, then add the second bit so that you're doing the first bit and the second bit together, and then add the third bit. If that's the case, you just do the first bit, switch the video off, continue practicing by yourself. Then when you feel good, rewatch the video, first bit, second bit, switch the video off, practice it by yourself, rewatch the video, first bit, second bit, third bit. Then we're all coordinated. The idea of learning this is that this should be how we normally breathe. It's just that we've often lost connection with our breath, and so we don't breathe correctly and with our full body and full awareness. So hopefully if you practice this, it'll become second nature and you'll actually change your breathing on a breath by breath basis rather than it having to be a conscious practice that you need to actually do. If you think about the belly expanding and the pelvic floor expanding, these are muscles. You know, the belly is a muscle, the diaphragm is a muscle, the pelvic floor, these are all skeletal muscles. If you do, let's say, a Pilates or a yoga class, it's once a week, and you might do some belly exercises and some pelvic floor exercises, and that's wonderful. And I have no idea how many hours are in a week, but say 24 hours times by 7, And then one of those hours is spent paying attention to your core, your pelvic floor, and your diaphragm. That's wonderful, and that's really, really great, and I'm not knocking that at all. But think about what happens if you can change it so that every breath actually uses the belly, the pelvic floor, and the diaphragm. Every breath is strengthening those three areas of the body. Every breath, even the breaths whilst we're asleep. Think about how much strength you would have. Okay, it's not big muscular work, but it's still work. Think about how much strength you would have built up in your body, even in your sleep. Okay? I know this is a strange concept for some people. The best example I have is the jaw. Okay, so the jaw, a relaxed jaw is actually a softened and open jaw. Okay? If you've watched people sleep, the mouth often comes open. Hopefully, you're not a teeth grinder, in which case you're spending the whole night grinding. But one of the strongest muscles of the jaw, of the body, is the jaw. And that's because we walk around every day, all day, with our mouths closed and potentially our jaws closed. We do things like we eat and we talk, all of which is very gentle movements of the jaw muscle. That's why the jaw is actually so strong. It's not because we do jaw exercises. In fact, mostly when I give people jaw exercises, they get through 5 of them. Okay. But it is a very strong area of the body. If we can take that concept into other areas of the body, our belly, our diaphragm, our pelvic floor, and we can be strengthening these on a daily basis, think of how strong we can become in our middle. Okay. The last thing that I will say is that it is very important not only to get strength through these areas of the body, but also to get relaxation through these areas of the body. So, the pelvic floor, we're often taught in order to rehab a pelvic floor or to rehab a prolapse, we're often taught tighten, 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 kegels, 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 exercise, 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 exercise. This is wonderful, but at the same time, if you have a pelvic floor and you're tighten, 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 you end up with a pelvic floor that's constantly tight and switched on. Yep. A tight muscle is not, sorry, a strong muscle is not a muscle that looks like this. A strong muscle is actually a relatively long muscle, not an overstretched and flaccid and completely flexible muscle, but a lengthened muscle, because then when that muscle contracts, it has strength. Yep. It's like a punch. If I punched from here, that doesn't have as much power as if I punch from back here. Yep. Same thing. If if you can relax your pelvic floor and you can lengthen out those muscles and you can let go, when you strengthen, when you lift, you've got more movement through the muscles. You've got a stronger pelvic floor. So it's important that we not only, through the belly, through the diaphragm, through the pelvic floor, that we not only lengthen and let go of these areas of the body, but we not only tighten these areas of the body, but we also lengthen and let go of them. All right, lecture done. Let's have a go at the breathing exercise. So, in terms of position, I'm going to teach it sitting up just because I feel more comfortable looking at you and at the screen rather than at the ceiling. I also, for my body, find it easier to practice this exercise when I have gravity because I actually have something to lift against. Okay. This is not normal. I don't like the word normal, but because it's me, I can say normal. Most people will find that when you start practicing this exercise, laying down is the most comfortable because it takes all of the weight off the muscles because you can get some movement through them. The other option, and I don't have one here, I normally have one here. The other option is to actually put a little bit of an incline through your body. So if you lay down and you put a block or a bolster or some books or a brick underneath your pelvis. Actually, I do have a bolster. Here's one I prepared earlier. If you put this underneath the back of your pelvis, particularly if you have a prolapse, you will find that when you lengthen this way, that you actually have the help of gravity. So if you're unable to pull up your pelvic floor or pull up your belly, let's say these muscles are all really, really weak, you might find that using gravity helps you to get a sense of that within your body. And then you can gradiate to flat. And then you can gradiate to sitting, standing. And at the point at which you can do it standing, you can probably do it in any position. All right, so find yourself a comfortable position for us to start off with. Could be sitting, laying down, something underneath the back of your pelvis. And you don't need to, but I think a really good way of doing this is to put your middle fingers together and put your middle fingers over your lower belly. If you've had a caesarian, you can even put those fingers along that caesarian scar just to help to bring some awareness and movement into those tissues. Wherever we touch, blood flow comes in, healing comes in, awareness comes in. Okay, so we're not actually doing anything, just resting. Then very gently close your eyes. Take a moment to completely relax your body. So relax your toes, your feet, your legs, hips, bottom, belly, chest, lower back, middle back, upper back, shoulders, arms, hands, fingers, head, neck, and face. Completely relaxing into your body. And then I'd like you to tune into your breath. And notice for me the first part of your body that moves on the start of your in-breath and the last part of your body to become still at the end of your out-breath. So usually for most people, this is somewhere around the diaphragm or the lower ribs. Might be slightly higher up into the chest. It's a little different for everyone, so I want you to become aware of where that spot is in your body. Then I'd like you to imagine that your whole body is like a lake, a very clear, still lake. And as you breathe in, somebody is going to drop a little pebble into that spot. So the first place that moves as you breathe in, we're going to drop a pebble. As you breathe in, that pebble's going to hit that spot and it's going to create ripples that move through your whole body. Then as you breathe out, those ripples are going to come back towards that spot and the pebble's going to lift out of your body. So you breathe in, pebble drops in, ripples expand out. You breathe out, ripples come back in, and pebble lifts out. To think of this in anatomical terms, the pebble is the first bit that moves, and then that movement pushes on other structures of your body, like your spine, which lengthen out towards the periphery of your body. And then as you breathe out, the space that's taken up by the air comes back, and the last part to become still settles in. You might find that as you practice this, that you can just feel movement through your chest and your ribs. That's fine. Keep practicing. Hopefully, eventually, you can feel down to your coccyx bone and the top of your head. And then maybe after some time of practicing, each breath feels like it goes all the way down to your toes, the top of your head, and your fingers. So that ideally we're breathing with the whole of our body. If you're postnatal and you have a little baby at home, watch them breathe. They breathe with the whole of their body. The whole of them expands as they breathe. The whole of them contracts as they breathe out. So that's the first stage of this breath. Again, if you're struggling or you just want to spend some time with that idea of breathing with your whole body and expanding, you just stick with that. The second stage, we're going to focus on the belly. So as you breathe in, we're going to let the spine expand. We're going to really soften the belly and allow the belly to bulge and soften outwards. As you breathe out, the belly's going to contract back in. The spine's going to contract back into that center point. Breathe in, lengthen the spine, belly softens. Breathe out, belly falls back in, spine contracts. If you're postnatal and you want to work some core as well, at the end of your out breath, pull your belly so your belly button in towards your spine and lift it up towards your nose. If you're pregnant and you want to work a little bit of belly muscles, imagine hugging your baby towards you. So it's a less big movement than pulling the belly button in towards the spine. It's more of a gentle hug in. If you're neither prenatal or postnatal, completely up to you what you'd like to do. So we have breathe in, spine lengthens, belly softens and becomes larger. Breathe out, belly shrinks, spine contracts, belly pulls in towards the spine and lifts up towards the nose. Breathe in, spine lengthens, belly expands. Breathe out, belly contracts, spine shortens, pull the belly in and lift it up towards the nose. One more, breathe in. Breathe out. Now we're going to add the third part of the breathing exercise, which is the pelvic floor. So it happens with the first two. We breathe in, spine lengthens, belly softens. Now what we want to do is we want to imagine the pelvic floor letting go, opening, widening, bulging. I know bulging can be a triggering word, If you have any triggering around the idea of your pelvic floor bulging, practice lying down or on an incline where it's safe to really let go of the pelvic floor. Then we breathe out. We start with the pelvic floor, so the pelvic floor lifts, belly comes in, spine contracts, belly pulls in towards the spine and up. So let's have a go. Breathing in, spine begins to lengthen, belly softens and expands, pelvic floor opens and releases. Breathing out, pelvic floor closes, begins to lift, belly comes back in towards the spine contracts, belly pulls in towards the spine and lifts up. Okay. Breathing in, spine lengthens, belly expands, pelvic floor opens. Breathing out, pelvic floor closes, belly contracts, pelvic floor lifts, spine contracts, pelvic floor belly pulls in and up. Let's do that twice more. Breathing in, spine lengthens, belly softens, pelvic floor opens. Breathing out, pelvic floor closes, belly shrinks, pelvic floor lifts, spine contracts, belly pulls in and up. Breathing in, spine lengthens, belly softens, pelvic floor opens. Breathing out, pelvic floor closes, belly shrinks, spine contracts, belly pulls in and up. Take some easy breaths in and out. Just let go of all the instructions, all the confusion. Just allow your body to relax and breathe comfortably. Now that you've experienced that, I'd just like to go over a few extra things that I think will help and things that I didn't want to go over before because it's usually useful to go over them once you've felt them within your body. So the first one is that when you do this at the start, it's very mechanical. It's very head heavy. It's what do I have to remember? Spine, belly, pelvic floor. What's the order? What's the instruction, the cueing instruction for my pelvic floor? What's the cueing instruction for it's a lot of thinking. That can cause over breathing, so we get a little bit lightheaded. If you get lightheaded, stop the exercise. Just allow your breath to come back to normal and then have a go at the exercise. I think that overthinking is just part of learning the coordination. Ideally, you progress beyond that into a place where it becomes second nature to do those things. And you may find that there's a particular sticking point with you. Like if you've had a caesarian, the sticking point might be the belly, the safeness of being in the belly, the safeness of letting go of the belly, or the strength to coordinate that lift of the belly. If you've had a prolapse, you might really find the belly to be easy, but you might find the pelvic floor to be difficult. If that's the case, you can let the other parts of the exercise be natural, be second nature, and you can concentrate on the area that you need to concentrate on. Hopefully, as it becomes easier for you, everything becomes second nature and you just do it all quite naturally. That's where we want to get to. That when you get to that point, that is when you'll start to be doing it without actually realizing that you're doing it. Okay. I know there's a lot of people out there, myself included, that are overthinkers. And letting go of that can be just as hard as learning the exercise. The second thing is the pelvic floor. So I try not to cue people on particular pelvic floor cues. Everybody has their own way of identifying with the pelvic floor. But basically, and I'll go over this in another lesson, but basically, your pelvic floor is like a diamond. So the two bones here, your sit bones, wow, every time I connect my fingers, I get love heart. That is so cool. It is so cool when we're thinking about the pelvic floor, and I'm getting love hearts all over my screen. Okay. Your pelvic floor is like a diamond. Sorry, the love hearts are distracting me. The pelvic floor is like a diamond. These two parts are your sit bones. If you don't know where your sit bones are, wiggle from side to side. Those two bony parts on the bottom of your bottom are your sit bones. The front and the back of your diamond is your pubic bone and your coccyx bone. Ideally, in a perfect world, when we think about contracting the pelvic floor, we're narrowing the whole diamond, making it smaller. So bringing the pubic bone towards the coccyx bone and bringing the sit bones towards each other. The actual bony pelvis is not going to move. Okay, the actual bony pelvis is very difficult to move, but all of the muscles that attach onto those points are going to contract. So hopefully it feels like that diamond is narrowing. Then we want to lift it up. Okay. Part of the reason that we want to first narrow the pelvic floor and then we want to lift it is because you might experience difficulty with the left of your pelvic floor versus the right of your pelvic floor, the front of your pelvic floor versus the back of your pelvic floor. And again, we'll go over this in a pelvic floor video, but I just want you to know that's okay. Okay. It means that there's something going on through your pelvic floor and maybe you might need to get that addressed. It also means that you may want to, let's say the left side of your pelvic floor engages really strongly and the right you have a lot less control over. It may mean that you want to really put emphasis or thought into contracting the right side or the front or the back, whatever is your chance for improvement. To eventually strengthen that side so that it matches the other side. But just be aware that your pelvic floor is not, like a trampoline. It is not one structure. It is made up of a whole heap of different structures. And like the rest of our body, it's not even. We want it to be even. We want to work towards it being even, but it's perfectly normal for it not to be even. This is what we're working with. This is why we're doing this exercise. Same goes for your diaphragm. Same goes for your stomach muscles. Your stomach muscles are not all the way round. It is quite conceivable that you are stronger through one side than the other side. It's quite conceivable that one side of your diaphragm has better movement than the other side of your diaphragm, or that one side, that it might be pulled over or that it might be twisted. Don't think of it as one structure. Think of it as a whole heap of little structures, and be kind to yourself, particularly if you're doing this exercise post caesarian. It's going to take some time. Be kind, work with where you are today. I promise you, you will get there. You may need some extra help, but you will get there. Well done. Thank you. Again, like always, I hope this video was really helpful for you. And be aware too that I have a whole heap of other stuff online. So if you're wanting this within an entire yoga class, I've got that in my online studio. If you're postnatal and you would like to start some yoga, the general recommendation is at 6 weeks. We have free online mums and bubs, or birther and bubs if you don't identify as a mother, online, and it's free and you can do it at the comfort of your own home. So the link will be in the description of this video. All right. Thank you very much. Namaste.